Artist to Art. I'm Aaron Jack. Welcome. We're going to be with All She Makes, Svitlana. So, welcome. The lights, the camera, the action. We're all here. Svitlana's coming on from All She Makes. Here we go. Welcome. What a beautiful day. A beautiful day.
Yeah.
Hey. How you doing?
Well, how are you?
I'm well. Where are you? Where are you today?
I am in Lansing, Michigan,
Nice.
in my
Nice.
apartment.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Do you have your painting studio there, or what's happening
So,
around you?
so my studio is actually outside of my apartment. It used to be here, but I realized I've gotten so much work, and there's just no way that I can work inside a little floor space that I had. Um, so I moved all of my art stuff into a separate studio, and from here, from the apartment, I only do all she makes work. So this is the HQ.
You're in the All She Makes HQ versus your own separate studio where you make art.
Yep.
So how
Yeah.
did you decide to kind of make these two different aspects of you? Like what needed to be shared that you needed to make two these different things?
So my own art, I've been an artist since when? Since I can remember, but only I kind of turned it into a serious thing. I started taking it seriously as an artist. I was like, okay, I like to paint, so I need to actually start doing something with it, right? So that started around 2015, 2016, that time frame. And as I started putting more effort and having more regular steady practice, my practice developed. And actually, only last year is when I've been like learning more about the gender disparity in the art world, and it I just didn't realize how bad it was. And I started doing things like checking the art books that I have and just flipping the pages and see how many women artists versus men there were. And like, it wasn't just like, okay, there's some difference. It was like, no, like one page versus 10 pages, and I was like, what? Why is it really that bad right now, in 2019 at the time? And the more I started learning about it, the more I started realizing that it's not just in art books. Like you go into art museums, or I don't know if you're familiar with Art Girl Rising. They have the whole initiative of bringing more attention to how many women artists do you actually know? Like, Frida or Georgia O'Keeffe, those are like the ones that come to mind. But when you talk about how many actually just artists in general do you know, you will have more male artists come to your mind. And so that was like the whole thing that got my attention. I was like, are we doing enough about this or not? so, so I started thinking, what I can do as an artist, how I can contribute to the art world, and help other artists as well to get more visibility. And then the whole idea of having a directory kind of came to mind, but the interesting part is that I didn't expect it to become anything else, but when I launched it, the demand for something like that was so big, and I've gotten such a good support from the art community that it just kind of kept evolving and growing. And it's turning into online exhibits, it's turning into different collaborations, and just so many different things. So I'm very thankful to be a part of this whole thing.
Wow, so it just started as a directory. And
Yeah.
what has it become now? Like what would you say it is at this moment?
So I see it as an organization that works to increase visibility for women in the arts. And when I say women, I don't only just mean women straight, cis women. I mean anybody who identifies as such or has any female experience. And we do have non-binary artists in our directory as well that participate in our community. So that's very nice. And so right now, I feel like it's more of an organization. I basically do the outreach. I reach out to different other organizations or companies or whoever. Like we had we had world what's the name? I always it's a tongue twister. The wildlife organization. Um, so they reached out. It's like a huge global organization, World Wildlife Fund. They reached out to have some of the artists featured during their um, celebration of the 50th day of the Earth or something like that campaign. And they wanted to have some of the artists share their work. And I was like, that's crazy. So, I feel like by existing, it kind of brings people into it because people want to be a part of it. People want to help. People want to, be a part of the cause to, bringing more attention to this issue that we have. And, it kind of perpetuates itself. So like, with you, I saw Tam did an interview with you, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know Tam. And then I see Kat Popova did interview. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's my friend. So it's like, once you start, working with some people, then the people that work with those people see the work that you do, and it kind of just like keeps growing and going places. So that's kind of how it's going right now. But yes, I would say it's definitely an organization because now I'm hiring people, I work with other people, and it's becoming a whole thing on its own.
That's so beautiful. And I saw Tam's doing a thing with you right now, right? With the
Yeah,
call for art.
she's curating the call for art. I thought, who else would be more amazing than Tam? She's originally from Venezuela. She has such diverse experience, not only being just an artist, but very multidisciplinary. And she has done just a variety of things that I feel like we need more in the art world. We need to normalize that it's like, okay, if you're a painter, you don't only have to do painting. Like so you can still be a painter and do other amazing things. Or, a lot of times artists have the stereotype whether when they're like, well, I'm a starving artist and that's what it's going to be. And it's like, well, you don't have to be, you can still do other things. So I feel like it's such a nice way to promote their whole thing where you like, or me, for example, I paint, but I also do a million other things. And there's not a set way of being an artist. And I think we should embrace that.
Wow. So you say you do a million other things. What are these million other things? Before we get and see your art, I'm just like curious. You've got so many cool things going on.
Thank you. So I also curate art for local coffee shops. I also recently curated an exhibit for the Visionary Art Collective. So I guess you can say I'm a curator as well. Short story, long story short, sorry. And what else do I do? I license some of my work, where companies sell it in their stores, retailers sell it in their stores, but then they pay me commission for using my work. That's all I can remember, but I know there's more. Oh, I did a wonderful, I would say, gig, I guess. It's on demand too. A local jewelry shop commissions me to paint vintage jewelry portraits, basically. So whoever gets an engagement set, they can get a painted portrait of the engagement ring set. So that's very neat.
Wow. That sounds, so I have a couple questions on this because
Yeah.
I've had a couple people on recently that have asked me about licensing. So I'd like to first kind of delve into that. And then I'm really curious about how you got involved in this coffee shop and the ring thing that you're talking about. But first the licensing, how is that? Because I have some very specific people who asked me about this.
Sure. So with that, I feel like I got sort of lucky because I saw an artist that I admire, Jess Franks. Actually, this is her work right there. Let me see if I can. There we go.
Oh yeah?
That's a print of hers that I've gotten. But I saw that, I don't know, just when I actually started taking my own painting seriously, she posted something that she was submitting her work to an art contest for Minted, and I'm like, what is Minted? If you look them up, they do a lot of custom stationery and they sell art. But the difference is that they basically, how they choose the art for their website and for their products is they run art contests. And when you submit your work to them, you don't know what you're basically submitting for. You just know it's an art contest. And what they do, they work with companies like Target, West Elm, and those companies source art from Minted. So anything that I submit for a contest, and if it gets chosen or not, basically in their database, and those companies can source, different art for their project. So like West Elm, they did. I have two pieces with selling at West Elm, and that has brought so much from my art career. That was like the very first thing that happened for me when I started, and only those two pieces, one, I made a lot of money because those are like national retailers and the pieces are big, they're large. So any commission that I do get, it's already a decent chunk of money. And because it was such a successful piece, it's still selling at the same rate as it was when it was first got released. So I feel like I got lucky in that sense because the pieces are large and basically allows me to make decent amount of money. But so that's the company name is Minted, and so I would say go and submit your work there. You never know what's gonna happen because you know I know that I'm an anecdotal evidence over here, but it really helped me. And so that's the only thing that I know about licensing. I know other people get approached by Bed Bath and Beyond, but that's like a different maybe like art shows. I know there was, I don't remember the name of it, but a friend of mine went to an art show in New York where she did pay a booth fee, but it was there are people from different companies that attend the show to basically source art for their mass production. And so I know that she was approached by Bed Bath and Beyond before, and it was similar basically deal that they want a high resolution print, scan of your art, and then you get a certain percent commission from every sale. So
wow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're not necessarily trying to do that right now, right?
The thing is, I always submit to them. I always submit my art, no matter what I'm doing, because all it takes is me literally going in the computer and spending like 10 minutes per piece, doing a submission. So it doesn't really take much of my time. And if they do accept it, all I have to do is go by a print shop and have a high resolution scan of it done and send it to them. That's literally all I do. So the returns on that are really high because I submit work that I already have, and some people specifically make work for the contest. Some people also, I noticed there are artists that honestly I'm shocked because they have really good work, but they submit like I feel like much lower grade of work that they have. It's like not the strongest work, and I almost wondering like maybe they're afraid to put their best work out there and then kind of becoming a sellout, since it's in the, so I must provide. For me, I'm not really bothered by that because I'm still going to make originals on the side all the time. So I'm still going to be producing original art. The fact that one piece became a sellout or whatever, that doesn't bother me at all. It's like, that's fine. I'll make money off of it, and so what?
That's cool. That's really cool. That's good to hear that it's been successful for you, that's been able to support your projects.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always really interesting for me to hear like what different things are supporting different people's projects through art, because there's different people have their different ways that they go about it. And I think that's so important to share with the community, to just know that there's so many different ways out there and different ways that people can take it upon themselves to then move forward and to support each other by sharing those ideas.
Yeah, for sure.
So you said there's also this coffee shop thing that you're working on. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so basically, this is another thing, kind of like an advice that I give to artists. Don't be afraid to just try things you have never tried before. Or like, don't think that just because you're a like established artist, you're like too good to show your work at the coffee shop. Like, you never know what it's gonna bring. because for me, that's kind of how I entered the local art community. I was like, I don't know where to show my work when I first moved to Michigan. I lived in Texas before, and when I moved to Michigan, I was like, well, I need to like show my work somehow. And that was the very first time that I started actually showing my work, because I started painting seriously towards the end of me living in Texas. And there's this coffee shop on the corner of from where I live, and I would go there all the time, and I see that they have art on their walls, and it's different art every month. So I would eventually inquire. I would be like, hey, what can I do to show my art? Is there, a selection process, or what can I do? So basically, my very first art showing anywhere was at that coffee shop. And as I became more involved in the art community, people get to know more of who I am and what I do. And eventually I became friends with the owners because they're also so involved in the community. And eventually I literally went for a coffee, and the owner was like, hey, we're looking for someone to do the art wall. Do you want to do it? And I'm like, oh, okay. So basically, it kind of fell in my lap, or he was telling me something like, we need someone to fill in or something like that. But he was like, but we would need someone who would eventually could take over the whole thing, because they don't have the capacity for that anymore. They grew. And I was like, I guess, sure, that's fine. I will do that. And they were like, you do however you feel suited. We trust your judgment. Basically set it up however you want. We don't want anything to do with that. And I was like, cool. So I started doing that. Also since January, that kind of started in January. And because they had no one, they actually had no one scheduled, and they had no idea how to reach out or where to find the artists. And I was like, hey, I know all the artists in the community, or at least a whole bunch of them. So I'll do it. And so I ended up doing that. And the ring thing that you were asking me about, that one actually was also by accident. This is why, like, I keep saying, just keep doing stuff. Keep getting yourself out there. You never know what opportunities are gonna find you. I really like the lady who owns the Jinjin Vintage. That's the vintage jewelry store. She's like one of the nicest ladies. Anytime you go in the shop, you feel like, oh my God, I want to stay here forever. She's just like such a nice and friendly spirit. And so I think it was her shop anniversary. She has been online selling vintage jewelry for a really long time, but it was like her 1 year brick and mortar, I think, anniversary. And I ended up painting a little painting of the rings that I found the most beautiful that she had for sale, and I framed it and I gifted it to her. And I was like, hey, happy anniversary, some blah blah blah. And then she reached out. Basically, she was like, hey, do you want to paint all of my rings? And I was like, so that was really fun how that came about. And again, the more you reach out to people, the more you show what you can do, what is available. Basically extend your availability to people. People will want to work with you. And of course, if you hold up, nice work ethic where people see, oh, this person is trustworthy, like, of course they want to work with you. So that's kind of how that happens.
Wow, that's such good advice for everybody out there. I mean, there's a lot of artists who I'm sure watch both of us go on here. But that's such good those are such good ideas to kind of keep in the back of one's mind, is like just keep reaching out and keep trying things. That's so
Yeah,
beautiful how it kind of snowballed into that.
exactly. And again, now at this point, like, I do have people still reach out to me like, hey, I need someone to teach an art class. Can you do it, or can you help me find someone? And I'm like, sure. I cannot, I don't have time, but I know how to reach out to other people that will probably help you. And it kind of, now people reach out to me to help them find artists. And so if I'm busy, basically, so that not only I get opportunities, but also I can offer those to others if I'm not available. So that works. I feel like it benefits everyone.
Wow, that's so amazing. That to be so inside the community, and your whole hub acts as kind of a networking group tool. Would you say that?
Yes, very much so. Um, more on networking. I feel like people imagine networking as this thing where you go with the purpose to network, but I feel like just being in the community is networking. Whether you have a goal or not, just being there and showing that you exist and showing people what you do, that's networking because people notice that. People take a note. Oh, this person does this and this. I'm gonna remember for next time I need help with this thing. That's kind of how that works. And, with the whole all she makes thing, I feel like I've heard, oh my gosh, this is like, if that was like the only thing that was happening at All She Makes, I would be happy and forever thankful. But of course, the artist will reach out to me and be like, hey, thank you so much for this thing you created because I found so many other amazing artists through you. And, I just moved to Japan and I found artists here nearby. And I'm like, that is amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. And so it kind of like once artists become part of All She Makes, they start to find their own community. They start to form the relationships. They see the art that they like, and they become friends with those artists. Like right now, there is like an art crush thing going on that I keep talking about. There are two artists, Julie Himmel, I think is pronunciation of her name, and Lorraine Brady. And so they have sort of similar style of painting going on, but I see them talking to each other all the time in comment sections on different things, and I'm like, look at these two go. Like it warms my heart knowing that these two found each other on the platform they are created, and I had nothing to do with that. I just created a platform, brought artists together, and they blossomed with their own relationship, and I think that's so beautiful.
That's so wonderful. So what would you suggest to other people trying to bring people together? Because I know that there's other artists and just so many other amazing people. There's people, I have people here from India who are musicians. There's people who are into licensing and other artists. So what would you say for other people just trying to bring people together, in their respective different things? Like what would be a good thing for them to try to help those communities or start their own communities?
Yeah, I feel like just have a vision, develop a vision of what it is that you want and start somewhere. It doesn't have to be a crazy huge idea. Like in my head, my director was like the most crazy idea that I've ever had. But, in reality, I'm like, that was a very small idea, actually. Right now, it's way bigger than what I thought it was going to be. But at the time, it seemed like this unattainable thing, but I knew how to get there. And I basically sat down and created a spreadsheet of all the things that I would need to do. So my master's is in strategic management. And so I already had, the kind of mindset for it, how to make basically an organization work, how to start an organization, how to run it. And so in my mind, I kind of followed all the, I guess, protocol that I learned in school, and that was really helpful for me. And I would say just have a vision, develop a vision of what it is that you want, and create an kind of like a plan, action steps towards that. Because if you just have like a vague idea and you kind of go, well, maybe I do this, and like do it real quick, and then the other day you go, maybe I do this and do it real quick. Like that's not really gonna work. You need an actual system. You need a system of steps. You need a plan, like something that very concrete that you can follow, because your strategic vision is extremely important to how you're gonna basically, it dictates what you're gonna do. And so if you don't have that clear vision developed, you can't really take steps. You kind of guess and it's trial and error, and then you don't have a record basically to show what you've done or you haven't done. And without having that concrete plan, you can't really do much. So I would say definitely develop a vision and set up a concrete action steps based plan where you can follow through and see, okay, I did this thing that I thought would lead me to these results. Has it done that, or has it not done that? How can I tweak this for future? That sort of thing.
Very interesting. Do you think you could teach us one or two things about strategic management and like how you would make an action plan based on like what is this vision? Like, how does it look like? Is it a one or two like vision mission statement kind of thing? Or do
Basically,
you have like,
basically, so strategy, it's, I can't really tell you like in few sentences because it's just such
yeah,
a, it took me 2 years in the master's program to study that. So I can't just like, summarize it. The only way that I can, I guess, summarize it is, your vision it can be one sentence like, I want to do this with this. And basically you sit down and you write like, how do I get there? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to reach out? Do I need help? Can I do this on my own? How can I get more kind of get the word out about it? You have to, it really depends, as well. It depends on what you're trying to do. It depends on your vision, where you want to start a community or a huge organization. Like my strategy, it changed, but my vision remains the same. So having that base kind of idea for what you need is what is going to guide everything else. Because as my organization is growing and expanding, the main aspect of it is bringing visibility for women in art. And so no matter what I do, I have to ask myself, is this bringing visibility for women in art? Is this getting word out there about what we do as an organization so that people know we exist, so that they want to help us, so then they want to promote women artists from my community. It's that kind of thing. You set this vision, and then everything you do have to basically answer the questions whether is this action that I'm doing or think about doing going to help this goal or vision, basically. I guess that would be the summary.
well, that's so beautiful. I've heard various different ways to go about this, traveling around. What I'm curious about is like what that was for you. Like, were there specific steps? Now I've heard like things about like how long, like the time-based model where it's like, okay, plan 4 years out, or something like that,
Yeah.
and maximum 4 years. And that was like this like dental manufacturer in China. But it was so I'm curious, like, what is it for you? Is like, how far out do you make that strategic plan? Or did you like start off like small and then you started to grow it as you went along?
It was kind of like I did it for a year ahead because I didn't really know what it would be or what it would do. And again, like every month or two, I sit down and I brainstorm, I reevaluate. I'm like, okay, where we are right now and where are we going and what do we need or what can we do? So I started basically thinking, okay, it's going to be directory, but I want quality art that has to be curated. And so that's all there was. And once I was like, I can do this for a year and then, reevaluate. But now, like, even in March, only like 3 months into the whole thing, I was like, ooh, I can do this and I can do that and I can do that and like 20 other things. But I was like, okay, but that's for later because right now I'm still growing. So I still need to live out this, year that I planned for myself. And, as collaborations come in, yes, I can participate, but as to like expanding and introducing new projects to All She Makes, that has to be, down the line because you kind of have to you can't just jump around and move too fast and nobody knows what you're doing. You kind of have to sit in a phase of something for a little bit to kind of live in it for a little bit, basically.
So phasing is a very important aspect to kind of move from phase to phase to phase, would you say?
For sure. Yeah, you have to plan. I feel like this is a business consultation live.
Yeah, I think this is so important for me. This is one thing that I feel like so many artists ask me about. And so one of my things is trying to really give artists these tools, I think is so important, and try to give people these understandings of like, oh, okay, here's how the people who are actually doing it can do it, and how are they able to fit that in with art, and so they're able to still be an artist and not be like, oh, now I'm a business, whatever. It's like, no, I need to understand these certain aspects so that they can be implemented.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, definitely, having different phases for it. You don't want to overextend yourself too, because then you're not actually doing quality work, you're doing quantity. And if you study any strategic management, it's the key to successful organization is the quality. You want to put your effort, you want to plan well, you want to execute well, you don't want to, well, I don't know if I can say it half-ass anything. So you want to make sure you're doing quality work, and that's extremely important to me, because if you're just doing quantity and just throwing so many different things at it, it's going to become a mishmash of a lot of things, and not good, and not, you're not going to be doing well at anything. So to me, it's extremely important. Like, like I said, have a phase, live through it, become really good at this one phase. Okay, now I feel confident. I feel like I've got this. I feel like I can do this with my eyes closed. Move on.
That's so beautiful. I think that's so important, is to look at that phases, and it's not all just like one thing, like, oh, I'm just doing this thing. It's phase one, phase two, phase three.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes overlap for you. Like you have your different projects in life, and then you have your other projects in each phases in each project, right?
For sure, for sure. Yeah. Like right now, this my local art scene, I feel like I withdrew my participation in it besides the curation, because like I don't do the art markets anymore. Well, one, for during COVID you can't do anything, but like during last year I kind of withdrew from all of the local art markets. I realized it was so emotionally taxing for me, like having to talk with people all day, like to be on alert all day. It was extremely exhausting for me. I think I'm more of an introvert person or something to be that way. But when I interact with people, I interact with my full self. So right now, if I'm doing like with you, I'm 100% here. I'm present. I'm thinking art and all she makes only. Nothing else crosses my mind. I'm trying to think how to combine all of the stuff that I know into this conversation. And imagine being like that with every person that I see. So it takes so much emotional effort and being present into just sell my work. And I realized, my God, that is not what, like, I don't like doing that. Like right now, I started scheduling my meetings. I only have like 1 or 2 meetings a day. And that is the reason for that, because that's all I can do. And if I do more, I will be a depressed stress ball. I don't want that. Because if I'm that, I cannot, do work for all she makes. I need to take 3 days off just to recuperate. And I can't afford, I can't afford that. So I, realized maybe being in the community personally is what I need to do less often. That's totally okay. Also, I had like a huge guilt trip about that. At first, I was like, oh no, I'm not supporting my community, blah, blah. But it's like, but also my health is important as well. So that, I had to kind of accept the fact that my emotional health is important. I'm still supporting them, just in a way that works for me. I'm not like not supporting anyone. I am, just in a little different way. I still support them online. I still give them shout outs when I can. I'm present when I curate the art. I work with people in that way, and that works better for me. So I would say also, another advice is don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to decline certain things because they don't work for you. Like, that's totally fine. You don't have to take on every single project that comes presented to you. Once you get more projects offered to you, you kind of realize that, okay, now I have the privilege to say no to some things, but because I do want to support the community, can I refer these people to other artists if I cannot take on the project? So, that's kind of how I went about it.
That's so cool. Okay, so I want to give a shout out. Lewis just joined. Definitely go check out. Previously, we just talked about licensing and Target and all of that. Gina just said she is into licensing and art. She's getting her lawyer degree. So she said it's good to have business and art business person and art artists working together. So thank you, Gina, for joining the conversation and Um, so, and then Abba says, it's so challenging to sell yourself if you're starting out and haven't made a name for yourself. You end up losing focus. So I'm really, before we're gonna get into your art in a minute. I know I keep saying that, but I'm just like, this is really exciting for me that that you're sharing so much good information for those out there who really can create more community and create more and do it in a strategic way. And how do we not lose that health side of ourselves? How do we not how do we keep it all going and balancing it and not giving up on our own art? I've found myself in that. I end up like, oh, like the community, and then oh, the project, and oh, the conference that I'm putting together, and how to balance it all. Do you have any, and you were talking a little bit about some of the things that help you do that and how you balance that. Do you mind talking a little bit more about like your mindset of balance within that?
Sure. I think the most important part for me was, well, for one, I have a lot of trauma from childhood. So I see therapists that specializes in trauma. However, that directly helped me detach from some of the things that I was obsessing over that were not helping me. So, for example, the whole thing of, knowing that, oh, to be an artist, you should only be a certain way. Like, one, there's an outdated way of thinking, and two, I couldn't let go of it because I thought if I'm not a certain way, nobody's gonna recognize me as an artist. I should follow these, I don't know, whatever things that I put in my mind that the society put in my mind also that tell me only this way you will become a successful artist. And so by working on myself and realizing I need to find what makes me happy. I need to find truly what makes me happy. If a project does not jive with me, if I go, like it sounds exciting, but there's something about it that it's feeling more like a dread almost, I don't take it. And that's kind of like my red flag situation. I watch for how my body responds because I never used to pay attention to what my body feels actually. And your body can tell you so many things about so many things in the world because it's your main alarm system. It's how we're wired as animals. Your body tells you before you know. And a lot of times I have to evaluate, okay, like why am I feeling tension? Why does my chest feel heavy about this project? And then I have to basically analyze. So that's kind of how I take care of my emotional health while having to deal with all of this. So basically establishing what I need for myself was the most important. And two, how to balance, my art and my business. I have to set strict times for art. So when I'm doing art, when I'm painting, it's only that. I resigned from being on social media during that time. I'll record because I'm like, okay, I know that I'm gonna need some process videos, but I don't feel like sitting with the camera and doing press and record stop and record the whole time. So I'll just put my phone and record, and I'll just do whatever I'm doing. I'll be walking around, just being present in the studio and not thinking about how I'm gonna advertise it, how I'm gonna market it. It's none of that exists. And I also realized that getting to the studios started to become hard for me because the whole depression thing, man, I'm telling you, is it gets me stuck in the house, and I don't want to get out because some weird reasons that are not even logical. So I have to be like, okay, today I'm going to the studio. So like Tuesday and Thursday, let's say, are my studio days, and on weekends I don't get on in social media. I don't do any work basically. It's a rule for a reason because I can't function otherwise. Otherwise my days become meshed, my work and my rest time becomes meshed, and then I'm a mess. That's just what happens. So I have to honor and understand that no matter how I think I'm balancing everything well, I'm not. That's just the reality of it. And I have to kind of let my ego go and be like, I know you think you're good, but you're not that good. And that's the end of the story. And so I said studio days. And also another thing is that I started releasing art by collection. So I realized also that setting a deadline for myself, it helps really well. So like you'll see I have abstract work, I have donuts, now I have plants. I don't think you have pictures of those, but that's the newest thing. I'm painting plants. And it has to be by deadline. So I kind of say, what do I feel like painting? And I think like a month ago, I was like, man, the summer is ending and it's just, saying goodbye to summer, to all the green stuff outside that I love so much. It's like that transitional period. I was like, I'm gonna commemorate that by painting tropical house plants that I love. And I thought to myself, I set the mood for the collection in my head. What would be the most amazing thing that I imagine for myself? And and then I set a deadline. It's like based on nothing, basically. I go, okay, 1 month from now, I have to release this collection. So then I have to go to the studio. I have to paint. And the thing is about being in the studio is like the second I'm there, I'm fine. I love being there. It's the most amazing time. It's just like getting to it. It's some sort of block for me. I don't know, maybe because I was never allowed to do anything when I was a kid. So now it's like actually doing stuff is really hard. So once I'm there, I know that I'll have the grandest time of my entire life. So I know that I have to set a deadline and then work from there. So I guess have some sort of schedule for yourself. Maybe, tell yourself Tuesday or Thursday are your studio days. And if you don't feel like going to the studio, you don't get to do anything else. Either studio or day off. That's all you got. And maybe if you are having a hard time, you can also be like, well, can I just make a small sketch? And more often than not, you'll be surprised that once you start doing a small sketch, suddenly you want to do so much more. And then you're like, well, hey, good thing that I have this whole day to spare. So
on that note, let's see some of the work. We have about 15 minutes left, so let's look through some of your work. So why don't you just tell me what's going on?
Not my work. That's good. So this one is part of my Galactic Abstract series. I did a few paintings that they were not originally meant to be galactic, but somehow once I was done with them, I was like, these are my imaginary abstract galaxies. I love them. And that's what, I kind of ended up going with. I had a few of those that sold, and I think this one was like one that was left.
It's one that still can be purchased, right?
Yes. You'll have to DM me though, because I curate my website as well. So like some stuff is not on it that I think just doesn't go together. So was a part of the things that I was like, well, only one of this is left and it doesn't fit.
So the one left you can only see here right now.
Yes. Okay, this one, oh my gosh, these are like emotional for me. So this, and I think that like that might be another piece with it. I don't know if I sent you a picture or not, but it was two pieces.
Here as well.
Yeah, those. So it reads as she said no, and you can't really see it. You would have to look into it basically. But the whole thing behind this was when I was doing my own healing from my own trauma and just realizing how much of my own voice was repressed in my family dynamics and learning to kind of regain that voice of mine. And also the whole Me Too thing was happening in the world, and it kind of made me know to someone that don't take me seriously. And it was like that for a long time before I actually started to be like, no, I say no and I don't want it, so that's what's gonna happen. Or yes, I do want it. Let's do it. And whatever the thing is, I feel like the voice of women was not heard so much or taken seriously. It's like, well, you hesitated. Well, did you really mean no? Things like that. So my whole thing with these pieces was we have to dress up our words in such colorful stuff. Don't want to say bad words. We have to dress up our words not to hurt other people's feelings. So we have to be like, we have to calculate what we say and how we say. And when we do say what we mean or what we want, it's still not taken seriously. So that's why, the words are so distorted, and, the picture is bright and nice and colorful, but in reality, it's like that's what it has to be for us to get our words across. And the title is She Said No. Because really all it is just a no. But, oftentimes it's not taken seriously. So that was the whole idea behind it.
Hmm.
Long story.
No, no, no.
This one is a very vibrant, I think the name of it is Sunny Days, and it was my abstract phase that I feel like I'm not. It was so interesting. I painted so many abstracts, and then at one point I was like, I'm done. I kind of feel done. I don't know what else abstract to paint. This is it. But I really love the colors of it, honestly. It reminds me when the day is sunny outside, then the reason I named it Sunny Days, when the day is sunny outside and you're looking at the sky and you have, I don't know, maybe the leaves of the trees and clouds and then the sun sparkling, and then you have like the different colors of the sun rays that you're catching with your eyes. So that was my image for that.
That's a really beautiful image to be like the sun rays that I'm catching with my eyes. It's really
Yeah.
nice.
Thank you. That one, what was that one? Something about sunset, I think, because it feels sunsety to me. I think this is my exploratory phase with this salmon pink or red, light red color that I discovered that I love so much. I don't understand why, but now it's in everything. Um, I made like an entire interior collection with that color. But that was, yeah, I think one of the last abstract pieces that I made.
Hmm.
Oh, that one is the grandma's flowers. So my great grandma used to have a peony garden on the side of her house, on the side of her cottage house, and I wanted to make sort of an abstract floral piece, and that was kind of inspired by the memories of my great grandma. Besides having peonies and just that peonies being the flowers, that remind me of my great grandma or remind me being in her cottage house. Um, she had embroidered pillowcases that were hand embroidered with cross stitch, and the background of those was always black. So it was always black background and some vibrant flowers that she cross stitched on it. And so that was kind of the the motivation, the inspiration behind this painting, like black background and vibrant flowers.
Oh.
This was the very first piece of 2020, Tropical Paradise, and it was I think, one of the first pieces that was not abstract that I did. Little did I know, my entire new collection coming out is tropical plants. They're slightly different than this, but I started this painting, as you can tell, it was very abstract underpainting underneath, and I literally just kind of made an outline of whatever colors I had under, and added some definition to it and turned it into a tropical painting. Oh, that one actually is in a museum show. So my very first museum show this year, this piece was accepted into Alexandria Museum of Art in Louisiana. And this piece, among a few others that were similar to that one, I completed in my artist residency in France that I did last year. And the whole thing, you can see that this one is very different from the vibrant, colorful abstracts that I had. And my whole point going to the residency was I needed help with kind of stepping back from the vibrant stuff. Like I just couldn't. I tried painting subtle abstracts and I just could not. So being in a residency surrounded by other artists and hearing feedback and ideas, and my studio, oh my gosh, it was like my studio was the inspiration behind how kind of the color palette behind the series, because the studios were not updated. So in the chateau, like this very old building from 1800s, the studios are kind of like left the way they were, and some of the paint was peeling, and because the studios are like in the very rooftop of the building, there was like some decay from when there was a roof leak or something like that. And to me, that was like I was in awe of that for some reason. It just caught me in the right moment in my life when that felt meaningful and impactful. So I was kind of pulling the palette and, the movement of the feeling of the studio into my work. And this painting was one of the pieces that I did there.
That's beautiful.
Those are the interiors that I did with this salmon pink color. I started, during the quarantine, this is when that started. Because it was like, I don't know what to paint. I started basically working on my iPad because I couldn't go to the studio, and I made so many different sketches of interiors because it was like, well, I don't know what to paint. What do I do? What are my ideas? And I thought, well, I always enjoy looking at pretty interiors. Maybe I can paint a pretty interior. And not being any sort of representational painter at all, of course, these fears come to mind like, well, can I paint? Like, I'm not academically trained. Am I allowed to paint representational? Just so much doubt. But eventually it all came down to, does this bring happiness? 100%. That's what I'm going to paint. That's it. So that's how I ended up with those.
Wow. So it just came down to that question of, does this bring happiness?
Yeah. It has to bring joy. Like, it has to. There's no meaning if it doesn't. I feel like whatever you're doing, you have to feel excited about it. You want to feel the passion, the inspiration. Where does that come from? From you feeling excited because you like the thing that you're doing.
So, Erica, you can go follow, for anybody who's not following either one of us, go up to the upper left-hand corner and you can follow us, both of us. And afterwards, you can follow us in the comments below. We'll have our different or different at names, whatever. So Svitlana, that's who we're here with. I'm Aaron Jack, and this is Svitlana from All She Makes. So there we go. How's that? How's that for a reintroduction? Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. And if anybody has any questions, we have like 8 minutes left. So if you have some short questions that can be answered in a sentence or so, feel free to ask them below in the comments.
Oh, that's one of the pieces that is at West Elm. The name of this one is, I think, On Fire. I think originally I named it Mandarin O for Mandarin Orange because the orange from this is like the little cutie mandarin oranges. And so every time I look at those oranges, I'm like, I think about the mandarin oranges. I'm like, ah. So originally it was named Mandarin, but then when I was submitting it for the art contest, I was like, I'm gonna name it something more relatable, like On Fire. I don't know, because it had that spark to it of some sort.
Interesting. So you renamed it to be the relatable aspect versus the thing that's the personally relatable aspect.
Yeah. Because once it went, to the retailer, I want to make sure it kind of relates to more people since it's going to be exposed to more people. And I feel like Mandarin, it was too on the nose almost. It's like Mandarin, oh yeah, because it's orange. But On Fire, it was more like there's a thought to it, something like that.
Interesting. Erica asks if we could answer this quickly. How can I start getting people to notice/buy my art?
One, you have to let people know that it's available. So if there's nowhere in whatever platform you use in social media, website, if there's nowhere that it says shop or buy, or people are not going to know, or have like a page that says available works, or if you're posting on social media, always say available if it's available. And if people are commenting, oh, I really like it, you always say it's available. I feel like that, that really continues that conversation because people like a lot of stuff, but, maybe they don't even consider buying it because they just haven't thought of it. And then here you are letting them know it's available.
Do you suggest any other things for people? Just like letting them know is the first
Yeah,
basically.
letting them know like the one main thing, and you would be surprised how far it will take you. I have people message me all the time, oh, I really like it, and the fact that I just say it's available, where can I email you an invoice? Like it, if the thing is like you cannot feel awkward about it. You are also a business person. You have to have an art hat and a business hat. And when people reach out to you about a business inquiries, you put on your business hat. And there is nothing wrong with that.
Thank you. Thank you for being able to switch back and forth. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right.
This is my donut collection. So, of course, again, during the quarantine, it was like, I don't know. I was just really down, like at the beginning of the summer. I was feeling like finally all the bad feelings happening around the world was settling, and I was like, I need something that's gonna bring me joy, like right now. I need to paint stuff that's gonna make me happy. And I was like, donuts. I love donuts. Also, I haven't had donuts in who knows how long because of the quarantine. So I was like, started with that the very large painting with the tiered donuts, that actually what I painted from baking my own donuts at home, and I decorated them, and I was like, gosh, these are the most beautiful things in the world, so I'm gonna paint them. And once I did, I also realized I had a small round canvas laying around. I was like, oh, that's perfect for a little donut. So I made a little donut, and after I made a little donut, I kid you not, I had so many inquiries about when am I gonna paint more of those and how they want them. The people weren't asking when am I gonna make them. They were gonna like, I want one, I want one. And I was like, I guess I'm making a collection. So then I was like, okay, so more are going to be available a month from now. And that's kind of how it went. And I ended up kind of creating the most fun donut scenarios in my head, like donut wall. That sounds so fun. And I even actually used like fake polymer clay sprinkles to put on those donuts. So, and round donuts, I mixed paint with with a thickener, with a paint thickener. So I piped it out like icing. And so I made like large 3D sprinkles by hand for the round donuts. And the word love, I thought, I hate word writings on my wall, but what if I did like, a writing with the donut letters? That would be so fun. So I literally did anything that I found fun. So, and I ended up with an entire collection.
Wow. That's incredible. So we only have maybe a minute or two left. So, quick answer, is it important to narrow down 1 to 2 mediums of artworks for the audience? Or like types of painting in this question?
I wouldn't say, I would say it's important to have a body of work. So, you can work and try whatever things you want to try. But when you are presenting to people, I feel my advice is, have a body of work in each of the things that you're trying, because it tells people, oh, this is this kind of thing that this person is doing. It's easier to kind of hone your mind around it. Like when people are applying to shows, a lot of times they will submit best pieces from different collections, but it doesn't help curators to see how that translates into a show. If they're all best pieces from different collections, they would rather see an entire collection or like a few pieces from a collection where they can be like, oh, this is how I envision this. So I definitely suggest, if you are trying different mediums, you can try whatever the heck you want. I do watercolor illustrations. I do this painting donuts, and I'm painting plants, completely separate and different things. But make sure you develop a body of work, because the first painting is always going to be weird and icky, and it does show. Every first painting of my collection is different than others in in very strange way. And because it's visible, once you start working on something, you develop, and your vision improves, and your skill improves. So I always say have, at least 5 pieces of something.
That's so good. That's like great advice to have it as collections.
Yeah.
So sometimes Instagram lets us go over. It's very strange. It's become very strange all over.
Yeah.
A constantly changing medium. So first I want to say thank you so much for joining. Thank you to the audience who's joined us. I really appreciate it. I'm Aaron Jack. You can find me at Aaron Jack Line Art on Instagram, Facebook, etc. What would you like to share? Any last words that you would like to share with the audience, the world, anything you want?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, so we do All She Makes has a call for art going on. It's the last one of the year. The deadline is October 31st, and Tam Green, the head curator for Showfields, is curating the call. We also shared some of the things that she's looking for. She shared with us main kind of ideas for the art that she selects. And so just, yeah, go on allshemakes.org and submit there. And thank you for having me here, Erin. I love sharing about my work, about All She Makes. I really hope some of the things that I said are helpful to people. That's the only thing that I can hope for. I'm here to help and support and inspire.
That's so wonderful. You've been really inspiring for me. I'm so glad that we've had the chance to talk and to connect and hopefully connect people together. Feel free to add us both before we sign off, and afterwards we'll be in the comments. We'll be tagged. We'll be there. We'll be there. DM
For
us,
sure.
I guess.
Yeah.
Use that DM feature. Don't be afraid, because why not?
Yeah. Exactly.
Why not? Reaching out is the only way, and keep putting stuff out there. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
right.
you. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.